Good morning to one and all. I am Mrs. Sujata Ali, teaching in Dharampet MPDO Memorial Science College, Nagpur. I am going to explain today chapter 36 of the novel Around the World in 80 Days by Jules Verne. In this particular chapter, we see that there is a great change which has transpired, and up until this point, the police actually were assuming that Phileas Fogg had robbed the bank and was on the run. And that is why we had learnt in the earlier chapter that Detective Fix was the one who was following him. In this particular chapter, it becomes clear that the real robber by the name of James Strand has been arrested at Edinburgh. So, as it was assumed by the cops that it was Phileas Fogg who had robbed the bank and was on the run, his name has been cleared. And overnight, you see that from being called as a criminal, as an evil person, as a person who is doing wrong, suddenly there is a change in people's opinions about Fogg, and everyone now starts praising him, starts thinking of him to be a good person. He has overnight once again become a thorough gentleman because now his name has been cleared that he was the one who had earlier robbed the bank. The papers once again resume the discussion about the wager, that is the bet that had taken place between Phileas Fogg and his 5 friends. Now, whatever people were waging on the bet, whatever amounts they were betting earlier against Phileas Fogg, all of a sudden that also overturns, that also changes, and we see now people starting to once again bet on Phileas Fogg, saying that they are 100% sure, or at least they had a 99% surety that Phileas Fogg would eventually win the bet and complete his journey of traveling around the world in 80 days. The 5 friends of Fogg's have passed their first 3 days very restlessly. There is a feverish suspense around. Now, all this time they have been wondering, where is Fogg? Where has he gone? Why hasn't he contacted us? Now, the 17th of December, that is the day of James Strand's arrest, is almost the 76th day since Phileas Fogg has departed, and there has been absolutely no news about him. People don't even know whether he is alive, whether he is dead. Has he abandoned the bet? Has he given up in between? Has he vanished? What has happened of him? Would he appear on Saturday, that is the 21st of December, at 9:15, that is 15 minutes before 9 p.m. in the evening? That is the time when the bet was to be completed. This anxiety starts growing in leaps and bounds among all the people in London. Several telegrams are sent to America, to Asia and other parts of the country, trying to see if they are able to trace Fogg. But from nowhere they get any type of positive reply. Slowly and steadily, with the passage of time, as time is drawing near, we also see that there is a huge crowd that has started gathering outside on Savile Road. That is where Fogg lives. People are continuously going to his house and coming out, going in, coming out, in order to find out whether if there is any type of information about Fogg and Passepartout. But they always return empty-handed. They have absolutely no clue. Now, the bets are continuously increasing. People are betting more and more for and against Phileas Fogg being able to complete his journey in 80 days. Now, we also see a huge crowd that has started gathering out of the Reform Club, because that is the place where Fogg is supposed to return on the 80th day. That is the day when he was to complete his journey. So on that day, there is a crowd that is gathering outside. There are newspaper people, radio people, etc. Everybody who has also started gathering to come and to try to know as early as possible what is going to be the outcome. Okay, whether Fogg will be able to win the bet or not. Now, there are 5 antagonists, obviously, in this novel. Samuel Fallentin and Sullivan, who are the bankers, Andrew Stewart, who is the engineer, Gauthier Ralph, who is the director of the Bank of England, and Thomas Flanagan, who is the brewer. They were waiting anxiously, okay, to know what will be the outcome. The clock kept on ticking. It was almost 20 minutes past 8. All right. So 20 minutes past 8 means it's 8:20. So at 8:45, the bet is going to get completed. So now is the testing and the trial time begins, when as the time is drawing near, more and more anxiety is arising amongst the other members of the Reform Club. One of the colleagues of Fogg goes on to say that when was the last train that arrived to London? And the other friend happens to say, the colleague happens to say, it was at 7:23. And when is the next train that is going to come to London? It would be after 12 midnight. So if Fogg had arrived in London by the 7:23 train, then definitely he would have reached the Reform Club by this time. But since he has not come, automatically these people are hoping that Fogg has still not reached London. The other friends also try to find out about when was the last steamer that left from China to New York, and from New York that happened to reach London. When they go and find out, the other colleague also discovers that the last steamer also arrived, and when he checked the names on the board regarding who were the passengers on the steamer, there was no mention at all of Fogg and Passepartout having been on that particular steamer. So again, that also leads them to think that maybe Fogg is going to lose the bet. Moreover, all the destinations that Fogg has traveled to had every kind of means of communication by telegraph or by radio or by telephone, by which he could have kept in touch with the other members of the Reform Club, telling him about his whereabouts, telling him how far he has reached, what part of the journey has he completed, how much is still remaining. But in no part of the journey has Fogg ever tried to contact anybody else. So that also makes them all think or assume that maybe Fogg is already going to lose the bet. So these are all the different ways in which the other members of the Reform Club keep thinking, okay, trying to come to a conclusion, thinking that maybe they are definitely going to win the bet and Fogg is going to lose. But in spite of all, there is the Samuel Fallentin who says we must not so fast start celebrating, because Fogg is a gentleman who is slightly eccentric, and many a times it has been noted that he is a person who is not going to come before time or who does not usually become late, but he is the kind of person who will reach the Reform Club exactly at the stipulated time so that he does not lose the bet. So in this way, you see, there are different thoughts going on in the minds of all these 5 members who have betted against Fogg. Now, At that time, Andrew Stewart is the one who is very positive, and he says, no, I'm certain that we have won the bet. I don't think that he will be able to make it on time because, like it or not, traveling around the world is not a joke. And besides, there could have been so many eventualities, so many casualties that could have happened with Fogg all through his journey. So he might even be almost 15 or 20 days late. I don't think in any way Fogg is going to be able to complete his particular journey. That is what they say. Anyways, Gautier says, fine, it is clear. If we think we are going to win the bet, why are we getting so anxious with only 20 minutes to go? Let us all relax, and for relaxation, let us all try playing a game of cards. So they take out the cards and they shuffle it and they start dealing the cards with each other. Now, it is seen that at this moment, the clock almost comes up to 8:35. Now 8:35, meaning only 10 minutes are remaining. They start dealing the cards and distribute it and start playing the game. But unfortunately, none of them are able to concentrate on the game. Either one or the other is continuously looking towards the clock to see what time it is. Now it shows that the clock indicates that it is 18 minutes to 9. That means there are hardly 3 minutes or 4 minutes remaining for Fogg to reach the stipulated destination, that is the Reform Club. So they are no longer able to concentrate on the game of cards for more than a few minutes, and it is at that point they say it's pointless, throw the cards away, we are not going to play. And everybody anxiously is now looking at the clock with every second ticking. And it is mentioned here that those 5 minutes in the lives of those 5 members, those 5 colleagues of Fogg, were the longest 5 minutes they have ever spent in their entire lives, because it was going to tell them whether they will win the bet or whether they will lose it. So again, we see that the clock keeps on ticking. Now it shows that slowly from 3 minutes it comes down to 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, their anxiety grows even more, grows even further. And then we see that the clock, again another minute has passed, and now only 1 minute is remaining. Now, everybody's eyes is turned towards the clock and they start counting, whether it's now 59, 58. They keep counting like that, and exactly at the 57th second, the door of the saloon opens up and the pendulum has still not beat the 60th second, and we see that Fogg has entered the Reform Club. Before he entering, there is a huge commotion and a sound, lot of noise that can be heard outside the Reform Club. Some people are cheering, some are jeering, some are upset. All those sounds can also be heard, and exactly at the 57th second, we see that Fogg has entered. So just by 3 seconds, he has actually won the bet, which he had thought that he has lost. So he opens the door of the saloon and he says, "Here I am, gentlemen." You all can imagine how disappointed the other 5 colleagues of Fogg must have felt. Such a great sense of failure for all of them, and such a great sense of relief that Fogg was finally victorious, that he had won the bet and actually managed to travel around the world and reach the designated spot in exactly 80 days. Now, we will see what exactly went wrong. Earlier, if you remember the last chapter, Fogg and Passepartout as well as Auda, all of them were assuming that they have lost the bet. So how come in chapter 36 we see this happening, that finally they have won the bet? Okay, now there is a huge error in the calculation of time that had been done by Fogg and Passepartout. We will go into the entire detail of what went wrong. Where was Fogg wrong in his calculation about the time that he took to travel around the world, and how he was able to come to know what was the error committed by him and Passepartout, and how eventually he is able to reach the Reform Club exactly a few seconds before the stipulated time. All this will be discussed and explained by me in detail in my last chapter, which is chapter 37, in my next presentation. So I hope you have enjoyed everything that you have listened to. Go through the previous two videos, then watch this, and again when you're going to watch chapter 37, you need to at least revise, go through the chapter 36 explanation and then move forward to 37, so that you are able to get a continuity, a flow of the entire story of the novel. Thank you all for watching and have a wonderful day.